I got news for you. This world is controlled by a cult. A tiny few people dictate to everyone else. They are planning an enormous economic crash. They also want a society completely cashless. If you don't know where this world is being taken by this cult, then everything seems random. Two massive 1% organizations, one in fact 6 weeks before this virus came to light in China, were playing out scenarios and simulations based on exactly this scenario that's unfolding now. And what they said would happen is exactly what is happening. We are being asked to believe now that this system cares about old people. They don't give a shit about the people. The elderly are an excuse to impose the very society that I'm talking about. This world is controlled by a cult. It's a cult that has no borders. It operates in all the countries in the end. It wants to create a beyond Orwellian global state in which a tiny few people dictate to everyone else. I've referred to this as the Hunger Games society. Picture a pyramid. At the top of the pyramid, you've got a tiny few enormously wealthy people. We now have a name for them. We call them the 1%. At the bottom of this pyramid in the Hunger Games society is basically the rest of humanity that is dependent upon the 1%. And in between the two is a vicious, merciless police military state to impose the will of the 1% on the population and to prevent the population challenging the 1%. And this Hunger Games society is not classic fascism, it's not classic communism, although the outcome in terms of tyranny is the same. It is a technocracy. A technocracy is defined as a society that is controlled by bureaucrats, experts, scientists, engineers, technocrats. And the ability of that situation to happen is through smart technology and AI. In the period around 2030, a year that keeps coming up from all directions, we will have a situation where the human brain will start to be connected to AI. They also want a society completely cashless, where everything is digital money, a single one world currency, which will be run through this smart grid, which has phenomenal implications for freedom. They want rid of cash. He said, don't touch cash. Use cards, because the virus can pass on through cash. If you don't know where this world is being taken by this cult, then everything seems random. Coronavirus, random. Climate change, random. Economic crash, random. But when you know where we're being taken, you know the outcome, this Hunger Games structure society, now the apparently random events become clear stepping stones to that outcome. Now, let's take all of that and apply it to the coronavirus and what's happening now, and let people decide for themselves if they think that the fact that the coronavirus hysteria ticks every single box of that outcome, that goal, whether that's a coincidence. I absolutely do not believe that it is. And you mentioned that you don't think that it was a created virus, but the fact is, whether it was or whether it wasn't, doesn't matter to the fact that once you roll this out, it takes on a momentum of its own. And therefore, what is unfolding was desperately predictable. And in fact, two massive 1% organizations, one in fact 6 weeks before this virus came to light in China, were playing out scenarios and simulations based on exactly this scenario that's unfolding now. And what they said would happen is exactly what is happening, down to the fine detail. This coronavirus hysteria gives the excuse to do what they're doing And the outcome and the consequences of what they're doing is to dismantle the world economic system. They are planning an enormous economic crash. And I've been saying it even more since 2008, because 2008 seemed to be a nightmare. The point I'm making is what they want is something that would make 2008 look like, you know, a Sunday school tea party. This cult wants to transform the world economic order into this technocratic, AI-controlled tyranny. This Hunger Games society is designed to have no small business, no even medium-sized business globally, just gigantic corporations that control and produce everything. What this coronavirus hysteria is creating is a situation unfolding by the hour worldwide that is destroying small business, family business, even medium-sized business, some even relatively big businesses too. The big legacy of what is happening now will not be to do with health long term, it will be economic. What happens to those people whose businesses collapse? What happens to all those people who were working for those businesses? For all these businesses that have been targeted, don't go there, shut down. What happens to them? They fall into the bottom of the Hunger Games society. And what we're seeing now, every day, is this Hunger Games society coming closer and closer and closer because of what's being done in the name of protecting the people. I got news for you. You go deep enough into this system, they don't give a shit about the people. We are being asked to believe now that this system cares about old people. We must protect the old people. We must destroy the world economy to protect the old people. Oh, these would be the old people, would they? That have paid in their entire life through taxation and other means, and at the end, in their final years, they get handed a pittance of a pension, which gives them the choice between being warm or being hungry. And what does that do? When people are going without essential things, because the system doesn't care, and they're having to buy shite food, because that's all they can afford. They can't have nutrients to boost their immune systems because they can't afford them, and the mainstream everything's not telling them they need them anyway. And at the same time, they're breathing in air, drinking toxic water and other drinks, being deluged with sugar, which has a phenomenally destructive impact on the immune system. All this is going on. We're living in an electromagnetic, technologically generated soup of radiation toxicity, and this system has allowed that to happen, has allowed corporations to do that, and now, having done all that, that's devastated the lives and the immune systems of old people, we are being asked to believe that the system cares about the health of the elderly. It doesn't give a shit. And I'm not talking about the nurses. I'm not talking about the doctors. I'm talking about that at the core which is driving this. And the idea that all these things are being done to protect the elderly, they don't give a shit about the elderly. The elderly are an excuse to impose the very society that I'm talking about. Do you know, mainstream doctors, I watched an interview with one in America only 2 or 3 days ago, and they're saying, well, just to put into context, 80% of people that are diagnosed with coronavirus have, and this is his quote, very mild symptoms. The ones that are in danger, and by the way, in danger from any virus, including classic flu, are those that have compromised immune systems. And they are old people, elderly people, and they are people with what is termed pre-existing health problems. Why? The pre-existing health problems are putting so much pressure on the immune system, it's already weak when it's hit with this. This is why someone like that will have potentially a serious situation, and someone with an immune system in working order will just swat it away. Well, the problem eventually passes. This virus will eventually flatten out. But what you see every time, 9/11's a classic, they'll roll back some of it, but not nearly roll back to where it was before. The whole thing's moved on, closer to the Hunger Games society. So why are we locking them away and bringing down the world economic system and destroying people's businesses, livelihoods, ability to pay the rent? Why are we doing that and not just focusing totally on those who could have a serious problem because of their immune system deficiencies? I'll tell you why. Because if they carried on and allowed that to happen, the world economic system would not be demolished. And the idea is to demolish it so you can replace it. Problem, reaction, solution. That's why.